Thanks for joining us today. Just want to make a note at the beginning here that there is a GoToWebinar control panel, typically along the right side of your monitor. You can open or close that using the orange arrow at the top, and there's a spot in the panel where you can enter questions as I'm talking. I'll address any questions at the end. Today, we're just going to give a brief talk about what actions our clients at Cool Choices are taking as they work at becoming more sustainable companies. We'll take a look at why employee engagement is a critical and maybe overlooked component. It's also what we refer to as the getting everyone to walk the talk, and the title of this webinar. I'll present a model for looking at why employee engagement hasn't necessarily always been a part of corporate sustainability strategy and ways to focus in on what makes it work. And then we'll just provide a brief look at our approach to employee engagement here at Cool Choices. Please stay to the end. Sustainability leaders often correctly go after the low-hanging fruit when it comes to sustainability projects at their company. Now, this isn't meant to imply that the low-hanging fruit is necessarily easy, because it isn't. It's time and labor and often cost-intensive in many cases. Things like retrofitting lights, auto-off switches for lighting, thermostat upgrades, HVAC upgrades, etc. So low-hanging doesn't necessarily mean cheap or inexpensive, but something that can readily physically be addressed in the company with tangible short-term results. It's often the first thing companies think of when aligning on a strategy because it can be seen, measured, and addressed through technical solutions. What is the higher hanging fruit? Well, we believe one powerful source of fruit is the employee workforce in your organization. The culture, norms, how things are done, peer influence, and social cues all have a powerful, long-lasting effect on behaviors in the workplace. This can require a change in how leadership interacts with line workers. It starts with developing a deeper relationship between leaders and those they lead. And yes, it can take more effort to get into relationship with employees, helping them feel as though they're intrinsically valued and not just instrumentally valued. It takes more time, more effort, patience, and a longer-term vision for the payoff. But it can be the single most powerful tool you have. So what is employee engagement? Well, really, Forbes in 2012 published an article that described employee engagement as the emotional commitment that the employee has to the organization and to its goals. So employees, give you their effort during the workday, and they, often do what they are supposed to do in their jobs. But quite often they may not be giving their discretionary effort. So they have effort that they can choose to give to the company, or to online games, or phone calls to loved ones, or whatever. So there's discretionary effort that they can use on behalf of the company, and often the more the emotional commitment from the employee, the more you'll get the discretionary effort out of that employee. So these are employees that care about their work, they care about their company, and conversely, they feel like they are cared about by their company and by their boss. So they have that kind of a relationship where there's kind of a two-way street of trust and relationship, where the employee feels cared for by the company and the company really cares about them. So let's look at employee engagement another way, through a model, and what I call an integral model. Now, the dictionary definition of integral is essential or necessary for completeness, possessing everything essential, entire. So really, when we're looking at integral, it's everything that's necessary. The integral theory was first developed by Ken Wilber, an American writer who wrote books about transpersonal psychology. And really, this model is from him. And you can see here that the top row is really about the individual. The bottom row is about the collective, or the group. So in our example today, in terms of talking about companies, the bottom is really the company, and the top is the employee. The left column is really about what's internal. So things that cannot necessarily be seen or measured, So it's the internal, interior, subjective kind of side of things. The right-hand column is more about the objective side, things that can be measured, seen, felt, and so that's more the exterior side, that right-hand column. Now, if we apply this to employee engagement, it might look like this. So again, you can see the row on top is individual, the row on the bottom is the group. The column on the left is interior subjective, and the column on the right is exterior objective. Now, if you were asked right now to go influence employee behavior at your workplace, a lot of folks might act on the employee. So they might give a command or redirect or reward, punish that employee, put up signs, send emails, send out a company memo outlining what's wanted or how things are done. And so a lot of times we'll see when people want a certain initiative to take place or are working on a particular project, that they'll act on the employee. And again, that's kind of an external driver to that employee. Human behavior, though, is more complex. It's the result of both external and internal influences. The most powerful and long-lasting change in human beings is driven by internal values, not external consequences. In many companies, folks are doing a great job of creating and completing projects on the right-hand side, the objective side. So taking a look at employees' behavior, key performance indicators, what are their goals, what are their completed tasks in service of those goals, for the individual. And for the company, what systems do we have in place? What are the procedures, the policies? What kind of changes can we make in the facility? All of these related, to sustainability. So these are all kind of external and exterior objective ways of acting on sustainability at a company, at an organization. But what we find really where the power lies is working that left side in addition to the right side, not instead of, but in addition to the right-hand side, so that you're really looking again at the integral solution to sustainability. So we want to be in relationship with individuals, with employees, so that we can understand their beliefs, their insight, that we can enroll and engage them in the value for sustainability, not only for the planet, but for our organization. Why does that benefit our organization? And really get at some of their feelings about that. And for the group, once you have enough individuals and you get that momentum going, that becomes the culture at your organization. Those are the social norms, the unwritten rules, and peers will influence that and sustain it for you. So it's just another way of taking a look at employee engagement and where maybe you may want to focus your efforts in the future. And I think it's pretty clear, if you create that kind of workplace culture that we're talking about, you'll create a better employee experience. If you have employees who are having a better experience, they're more motivated, and that creates better outcomes. Better outcomes, better quality, that leads to a better customer experience, which, again, results in better branding, revenues, and growth for your organization. So, some people ask, well, why would we focus on culture? Why would we focus on employee engagement or, developing relationship with our employees, things of that nature? And you can really see how it leads to really some very strong bottom line positive impact for your organization. Richard Branson was famously quoted as saying, "There's no magic formula for great company culture. The key is really just to treat your staff how you would like to be treated." It's the old golden rule. Employees will treat your customers in a similar or better way than you treat them. The whole concept of employee first is followed by many of the most successful companies in the world. If you take a look at the culture of companies like, Virgin Air, where Richard Branson is the owner and CEO, or Google or Apple, the workplace cultures there, Amazon is another great example. Some of the most successful companies in the world have really employee-first kinds of cultures, and they treat their employees in a way that causes employees to, again, use more of their discretionary effort on behalf of the company's goals. One of our clients recently said, and I thought it was just a great quote, that after having utilized our program, the Cool Choices program at Menasha Corporation, Morgan said, the result was really an entire employee population moving in the same direction. And that's really, I think a key of kind of, as I was saying before, the momentum shift that occurs as more and more individuals become engaged and enrolled in your sustainability initiatives. You create that kind of a culture where it's sustainable and where outside influences no longer can change that. And that's just how we do things here at this organization. So our approach at Cool Choices really increases the buzz conversation around sustainability. Folks are focused on it and they're engaging each other by playing our game. Conversations are started in the break room or in the washroom. And coaching is enabled in a way it previously hasn't been. Sustainability becomes the thing we're doing at our company. Relationships get built, people gain insight into each other's lives and are better able to accomplish not just sustainability, but their other work projects. That shift in culture begins, and savvy leaders can leverage that momentum into lasting cultural change so that everyone's walking the talk. So today we've looked at why employee engagement is a critical and maybe overlooked component in sustainability strategy, getting everyone to walk the talk. I presented a model for looking at why employee engagement hasn't necessarily always been a part of corporate sustainability strategy, and ways to focus in on what makes it work. And then just a brief look at our approach to employee engagement here at Cool Choices. It doesn't look like there's any questions at this point, so thank you very much for joining us. And if you do have any questions, our contact information is on the screen. Feel free to email me or call us. Go to our website at www.coolchoices.com and stay tuned for another webinar next week.